In marching band, the journey is just as important as the destination. How you get from set to set is important, if not more important, than reaching said set. First, there is standby. It is a silent action. Feet should be shoulder-width apart and toes pointing out at a 45-degree angle. Your hands rest together at your waist, with your right hand over your left, always.
Set.
From standby, you go into set. This is also a silent action. It takes an immediate 1 count to get into set. Your toes were pointing out for a reason. When you bring your left foot to your right, connect your heels. You want to maintain that 45-degree angle. And you always move your left foot. We are a left foot band after all. Posture is up and chin is still up. You're part of the marching band now, so show pride and stand tall. Your arms should create a 90-degree angle, and your hands should create a 90-degree angle as well.
Hut 10. Hut. Hut.
When someone calls "10, hut," you react just as you would if someone called "set," but you give a strong and proud "hut." The first thing any crowd hears is our hut, and we never get a second chance at first impressions. So you give it all you got and show them who we are.
Left turn. Move.
If someone calls for a right or left turn, you move 90 degrees in said direction. It should take a complete 4 counts for you to turn.
Left turn. Move.
To turn, you pivot at your heels, left foot moving first. But if you are turning right, you move your right foot first. On the 5th count when you've halted, you give a noticeable head snap. It is something that is very important to our band, so it's necessary that this head snap is clear and uniform.
To the rear. Move.
Just like a normal turn, moving to the rear takes 4 counts, but you turn a complete 180 degrees this time. Following the same principle as before, on the 5th count you give a strong head snap. More importantly, you always go left when turning rear.
Dress right. Dress.
Dressing is a 2 count move consisting of bringing your horn up and then turning your head with your arm as an extension of your eyes. Your arm should be parallel to the ground. Your head and arm move at the same time on the 2nd count. It is imperative that you line your shoulders up with the person beside you and cover on the person in front of you. Also remember to tuck your thumb along your hand.
Dress.
If when told to dress and you are at the end of the line receiving the dress, you do not need to extend your arm on the 2nd count, but instead do a head snap.
Ready.
This command will bring you back to set position. It is again a 2 count move. On the 1st count, everything is brought back to set position with your horn still up. On the 2nd count, you will bring your horn down and do a head snap. When marking time, you always pull your left foot up on the prep beat like so. While marking time, lift your toes off the ground but only slightly. Your heels should be substantially higher than your toes. It's also important to keep your upper body as still as possible, as it will help you maintain a clear, consistent sound together. During basics, we almost always move from mark time. But before we can move our left foot out to step off, we need to lock our feet. What we mean by this is that rather than lifting up your left foot like you were to mark time, you leave it on the ground and put down your right foot so that both feet are touching side by side.
Mark time. March. Ready. Move.
When we move forwards, we roll our feet from our heels to our toes, as if we're squeezing out the last bit of toothpaste from a tube. Each step is in line with the next, so that way we don't look like skiers. Whenever we move, we have to stop at some point. When we finish a rep, we will halt and set. To finish at a halt, we use a 9th count to stop. On count 8, the right foot is placed on a 45-degree angle, just like in set. And on count 9, the left foot is brought in at a 45-degree angle with the heels touching and toes apart.
Mark time. March. Backward. Move.
Moving backwards is a little different than forwards. Instead of rolling with your heels, you glide across the field on the platforms of your feet. You want to make sure that your legs are straight and that you don't look like you're backpedaling as you move. Make sure your upper body is nice and straight and stand up tall to maintain balance. One last important thing to note is that you want to ease into the halt so that way you don't crash into the ground and mess up the sound.
Mark time. March.
At some point, everyone is going to have a direction change, going from forward march to backward and vice versa. We call this direction change a touch and go. Do not lift your back foot up when changing direction. Your last step before the change is on the pads of your feet if you are going to start going backward. When changing from forward to backward, count 1 of the change is a dead beat where neither foot moves. Your right foot moves on count 2 after the dead beat and the vocal cross on the upbeat of 1. When doing this technique, you have to think 1 cross 2. The same technique is used when changing from forward to backward. Be sure to remain completely still on the dead beat. It is imperative that you face the front of the field at all times unless you are told otherwise in your drill. In order to do so, there is a technique we call front slides and back slides. You front slide and back slide as you move to the left and right across the field. Traditionally, front sliding as you move in towards the 50 and back sliding as you move away from the 50. Front slides use forward marching technique, stepping from heel to toe towards the end zones while your upper body faces the sidelines. Back slides use backward marching technique, stepping on the pads of your feet. It will feel weird, but it is extremely important that you keep your shoulders and your hips from turning. Push the hip back and maintain the same posture and balance executed in all other areas of marching.
Mark time. March. Slide right. Move.